and me. Drinking coffee, take a sip, they say I'm sparkling. Manifest, I write it down, you know it's happening. Working on my dream life. Yeah, my bank account be real fine. Got my skincare, yeah, I glow shine. You can see me from the moon. From the moon, yeah. How you been wasting your time? Yeah, you worry about the way I've been running this vibe. Only interested in doing the things that I like. And the things I like of me. Cause last year was a mess, but I'm growing up. Thanking God that I'm so blessed, yeah, he showed me love. Said, girl, don't cheat yourself on this, get your glow up. And it's all because I'm working on my energy. Cleaning up, I'm taking care of myself and me. Drinking coffee, take a sip, they say I'm sparkling. Manifest, I write it down, you know it's happening. And I eat anything that I want. I got a belly, got a booty, got that dun-dun-dun. I'm on the grind, I level up, I do it just for fun. See you watching, take a picture, then I last for love. Cause we don't deal with drama. Nah, nah, you wanna hate, you gon' get karma. Nah, nah, we living big, we gon' get nana. Nah, nah, you look at me, you like ooh la la. La la, yeah. Tell me where's the truth, I see fake. Yeah, that won't shine through, cause I be doing me. You do you, baby, you should do you. Switch your point of view, watch the change. Girl, it starts with you. Cause last year was a mess, but I'm growing up. Thanking God that I'm so blessed, yeah, show me love. Say, girl, don't cheat yourself unless get your glow up. And it's all because I'm working on my energy. Cleaning up, I'm taking care of myself and me. Drinking coffee, take a sip, they say I'm sparkling. Manifest, I write it down, you know it's happening. And I eat anything that I want. I got a belly, got a booty, got that dun-dun-dun. I'm on the grind, I level up, I do it just for fun. See you watching, take a picture, then I last for love. Working on my energy, taking care of me. Something like that.
Welcome, Sonder fam. Good morning, good Sunday morning to be specific. Welcome to our weekly setup. My name is Bailey and I will be your facilitator today. If you are new to weekly setups, welcome. We're going to be doing a few opening activities and then diving into different parts of the weekly setup in our June journals on pages 40 and 41. Going through each section, sharing some tips and tricks and different ideas up on the screen and also in the chat, and hopefully getting you ready for the week ahead. And if you're a longtime Sonder Social attendee, welcome back. One of the best things about Sonder Socials is being able to come, be here and be present in person with our community and share different things in the chat. So in order to do that, make sure that that little blue box in the chat where you type is set to everyone. A lot of the times it will default to host and panelists. And if it is host and panelists, not everyone will see what you have to say. And we definitely want that to be set to everyone and let you share with everybody if you've got something to share, because a lot of some really good ideas and things come from the chat. We love sharing different things up on the screen with you all, but a lot of the times you all have really cool things that you're doing in your journal that we don't have an example of yet. So we would love for you all to share those things in the chat with us today. So before we get started, as we move through, and as always, you're welcome to take pictures, screenshots of what you see up on the screen. Also, we'd love to see how your journal gets set up for the week. And if you're comfortable sharing that with us in Sonder Club, we'd love to see that. And you never know, might see your own examples up on the screen someday. As always, we want to make sure we're following our community guidelines anytime we're gathered together, and Sonder Socials are no exception. So while you're here today, make sure that you're being kind and courteous to yourself and to others. No promotions or spam, please. We want to respect everyone's privacy here. A lot of the times we can get real deep in our different journal prompts and things. And, we're all going through stuff and dealing with things in life, celebrating things in life, and we want to be there to cheer each other on for those celebrations and good times. But also, we want to be there for each other in the not so good times. And the only way we can do that is if we're creating a safe space where people can share and not worry that, it's going to get brought up later or that it's going to leave Sonder Socials. What happens in Sonder Club and Sonder Socials stays in Sonder Club and Sonder Socials, if you will. No hate speech or bullying, also key to that safe space that we need in order to share with one another. Try to limit repetitive product and accessory questions. We don't mind a little chatter around like stickers and pins and all of that good stuff, but our time together in these socials is only an hour and it always goes by so fast. So we definitely want to try to focus on the topic at hand because our time together is not unlimited today. And then I have the wonderful Jennifer O helping out in the chat today. And she and I are so happy that all of you are here, but we do not have access to things like, shipping information or your subscriptions or anything like that. So there are certain things that if you need help, we'll direct you over to the HQ team at hello@silkandsonder.com. But if it's something that she and I can help you with, we'll be happy to help out. Definitely post in the chat. And we'll do our best to see what we can do. We also don't work for Zoom, so sometimes Zoom does funny things, and we'll do our best to try to help troubleshoot, but sometimes we also can't help with that. And then finally, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So shortly translated, that basically means whatever you need to do in this hour of time here, do it. If you need to just focus in on your journal today, you're not in like a communicative, chatty mood, that is totally fine. Just focus in on your journal. If you have already set up your journal and you're here because you're like, I really needed to be with my Sonder fam today and I need to just like interact and get some positivity and stuff going, then do that. We don't care if you come to every single social and that means you come to 3 weekly setups a week or, every monthly setup or what it is. We're hoping that this time is going to be beneficial to you and whatever it is that you need. If we start to cover a topic that starts bringing up any emotions or anything that feels like today is not the day that I want to interact with this, that is okay. You don't have to interact with that today. You can just put a pin in it, groove out to the music, work on a different page, color a little in the coloring page, and then rejoin us once we move on. And feel free to encourage each other in the chat. Let's reward each other for being vulnerable and sharing when we have the bravery to do so, because that's part of what makes this community so awesome and amazing. So thank you all for joining us today. We are going to do our Thrive mind map. So if you're new, the mind map is not going to be reprinted in your journal. It's going to be on a page that you create. So you can do that on a blank page. I always do mine in the very back of the journal. And we go each week at the weekly setup, we look at a different prompt related to our theme for the month. So this month is Thrive. So we'll be looking at theme around that. And then we'll do our rosebud thorn reflection, thinking back on last week before we say goodbye and move into next week. And then we'll get into those weekly setup pages so that we can get ready for the week ahead. So, hello, June. We are already not quite halfway through, but it kind of feels like we are already. Jennifer and I were talking about how fast this month seems to be going. And in general, it's kind of surprising that June is already here. But it's here, and it is here in full force with our theme of Thrive. And obviously, Thrive is a wonderful theme because I think it's something that we all would love to be doing, right? We would all like to be like thriving and vibing and living our best life and feeling sparkly and happy and all of the things. Being in that like sweet spot and that like gold zone, like whatever it means or looks like to you. But the reality is like thriving is usually not something we can just snap our fingers and make happen tomorrow. It's not something we can typically just like flip a switch or make one change and then boom, there it is, it's done. Now, sometimes you might have a change that's like a snowball, right? It's like, oh, wow, that was the one thing I really needed to work on. And now everything's gotten easier and everything is flowing and like I'm getting there, right? But ultimately, the reality is most of us are probably not going to be able to just wake up tomorrow and immediately be thriving, right? It takes time, and a lot of the times it takes not just intention, but also curiosity and checking in with yourself and feeling like, okay, where am I at currently? If I were to sort of rate how I feel about how I'm thriving on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 to 10, 1 to 20, whatever feels right to you, right? How do I get all the way to the other end of that where I really feel like I'm in this season of truly thriving? Like, what's stopping me? What's holding me back? And then once you identify that, you can start to ask, okay, is there anything I can do to influence or change this, right? And I think it's important to be realistic with ourselves because sometimes we get caught up in where we should be and we forget how hard it can actually be to get there. And what I mean by that is if you think about, some of you may have heard of like the sphere of control. I know we have done exercises on the sphere of control in Sonder Socials in the past. But basically what it looks like is there are like 3 circles, and the smallest circle is what you can directly control, and that's you. That's just you. It's nothing else. You are the only thing in this world that you can directly control. And then there's a bigger circle, and that is your sphere of influence. So things that you can influence, maybe they're like close friends that, will listen to you, maybe make changes, you can ask for things, you can try to point things in a better direction, right? But ultimately, you still can't have full direct control. And then the bigger circle is everything that's totally outside of your control. And sometimes what we really need to thrive is in one of those larger circles. And so that means that we have to kind of rethink how we want to tackle that and see if there's a way that we can live in that smaller circle of what we can control. And if not that, then that middle circle of what we can influence, right? Because if we're constantly thinking about things that we need to thrive and it's actually stuff that's completely out of our control, then we're just kind of setting ourselves up for failure. And then that kind of puts us into a rut and it makes it a lot more difficult to kind of get back on the bike or the horse or whatever your favorite phrase is, right? So all of that to say, if you're not in a season of thriving yet, don't give up, don't panic, don't start to be down on yourself and feel like I'm never going to get there, it's never going to happen for me, because it will and it can. But it might require some really like intentional curiosity with yourself and figuring out where to start, and just remember to start small, right? Small changes, small decisions can add up to really big changes in the long run. So, and if you're somebody that is in a season of thriving, we are super pumped for you. That is really exciting. And we want you to share with us, how did you get there? How did you make this happen, right? Like, this is a collaborative space anytime that we're together in the Sonder fam community. And we're here to learn from one another. So we want to know how you got into this season. And I think that's a perfect segue into our mind map, and you'll see why in just a second. So for this activity, you can turn to a blank page or space in your journal. Again, always do mine on the very last page just because it's easy for me to find and flip to. And we are going to be digging into what it means to thrive. Thriving is about ongoing growth inside and out. This could be physically, mentally, socially, or all of the above. It's not just about achieving things, but also feeling happy and fulfilled in the process. So thriving can be a specific part of your life, like your career, but ideally it encompasses everything. Think of thriving as a vibrant combination of happiness, accomplishment, and continuous learning. We will look at different areas of our lives over 4 different weekends this month. And this week, we are going to ask you about growth. And specifically, they're sort of narrowing in on growth in that continuous learning department, but you can interpret this however it speaks to you. So thriving is about continuous learning and development. This area focuses on challenging yourself, acquiring new skills, and expanding your knowledge. It could involve pursuing hobbies, taking courses, or simply stepping outside your comfort zone. And don't worry, I'll come back to this slide in a second. But I carried over a few of those quotes from that Thrive slide because I think they definitely apply to this question today. And then the way that I've set up my mind map is I have said I thrive in blank when. That's how I'm kind of interpreting it this month. So for me, I said I thrive in growth when I take opportunities to expand my knowledge, experiences, and perspectives. I can do this through podcasts, reading, travel, sharing with and listening to others, being open to new things, and giving others and myself grace and patience. Something I'm really leaning into this month is reading and listening to podcasts. So far, I've learned others have had similar body image issues as me, and also that bats are the only mammals that fly and they can fly upside down. So there's your fun facts for the day. Over on the left-hand side is a couple of examples of different resources that might be available to you, whether it's a physical space or online, where you might be able to learn. Like libraries always have a lot of really cool like community events and things that they have, and obviously they have a lot of resources there. You can actually learn quite a lot from the internet. Like Instagram Reels, TikTok, and YouTube. Obviously, sometimes the internet can be a negative impact on our ability to thrive because we can lose a lot of time scrolling, but we can also learn a lot there. So especially if you're being intentional about your time online and what you're looking at. Documentaries, there's all kinds of specific online learning platforms like Coursera, LinkedIn Learning if you're doing things in business land, that kind of thing. Nonfiction books, local events, communities, and clubs, and that could be our Sonder community, right? So it doesn't have to be physical communities and clubs. It can be things you join online. And if there is a club currently that doesn't exist that you wish did, then maybe you should start one because there's probably other people looking for that same thing. You can learn a language, take a cooking class, or even just try a new recipe. You can do gardening, playing an instrument, or crafting. And those are all just a few different ideas, right? If this prompt hits you in a totally different way, roll with that. This is your mind map and your time to reflect. So I'll hop back and forth between these two slides and give you a minute to work on your mind map. And then we'll come back together and do our rosebud thorn exercise. Okay, thank you all for thinking about this prompt and for sharing in the chat. I noticed kind of a trend that like a lot of us, one, realize that there is no like limit to learning, right? Whether that's age or environment or ability, like you can always learn something new. You just kind of have to be willing to make the effort, figure out what works for you, what you're interested in, put yourself out there. I also noticed that some of us are kind of learning a little bit more about AI, this thing that has like kind of come into our lives. And also people were talking about like audiobooks versus physical books. And I think that's sort of like the tale as old as time when it comes to technology, right? Like anytime something new and like really different comes along, there's that like initial hesitation of like, oh, is this something we really want to be here? Is this what we intended? And then we kind of have to realize, like, well, it is here and it's working for a lot of people and it's helping in these ways. And yes, there's maybe always going to be some downsides to really almost anything, but that doesn't mean that we can't engage with the positive. But the best way for us to do that is to learn about it, right? And to engage with it and give it a try. So I saw a lot of us were starting to do that as well. So thank you all so much for taking time with yourself to think about this. We are now going to move over to our rosebud thorn exercise. So this is going to appear in your journal each week at the end of every week. And so that means that this week's is on page 36, but you can do a rosebud thorn exercise anytime that you like. You can do it every day. You can do one at the end of the month, every 2 weeks, every quarter, but it is pre-printed in the journal for you to kind of reflect on each week. So we're going to think back on the last 7 days and just think about a rose, a highlight, something that went well, something that made you smile. This could be something really big, like a really big win, or it could be something really small, like a songbird outside, right? We're also going to think about a bud, which is an emerging opportunity, something that is coming up on the horizon. It might be something you're really excited about or something you're a little nervous about, maybe a mix of both. And then we're going to think about a thorn, a challenge, maybe something that hasn't gone super well, maybe has done the opposite of made us smile and made our lives happy, right? So I always like to talk about these in reverse. So my thorn was at the beginning of the week, I was actually sick. It was just sort of it seemed like allergies to me, but it might have been like a little virus bug thing. But it really impacted my mood. Like I was just kind of really extra grumpy and angry and like kind of like sad. It was kind of strange because that doesn't usually happen to me. I do get frustrated with myself when I get sick sometimes, and that's something I'm working on because we all get sick. It happens. It's part of being human. But for some reason I get really annoyed when it happens sometimes. And I think it's because I have to rest instead of choosing to rest, right? And so it removes that element of control and it frustrates me. So that's something I'm working through. And then my bud is that my boss is out of town this coming week, and then I'm out of town the week after. And obviously, I'm excited about my vacation and everything, but this will be the first time that she and I have like been out consecutively to the point where there's no overlap. Which means we won't have a chance to like catch up before she comes back and I leave. And so I'm a little, I don't know if nervous is the right word. Probably. It probably is. Just a little nervous to see how the next week goes and everything. And then my rose is I did really well with my goals this past week, especially less social media and not eating out. So I'm pretty proud of myself that that's going pretty well. So I'll let you all think about your rosebuds and thorns. If you will, share in the chat if you're comfortable. It's always nice to see kind of the ways that our lives overlap, and a lot of the times we're dealing and celebrating the same things. So put on some music for you and then we'll move into our setup. Thank you all for taking time to reflect on last week. With that, we are going to say thank you so much, or maybe no thank you so much if it was not a great week. And we're going to move into our next week, our new week, our week ahead, our weekly setup. So this is going to be on pages 40 and 41 today. And we are going to be looking at all of these different sections. These is my weekly spread, but of course we will dive into each section here. I'm still learning how to be a sticker girly and how to use the stickers. I'm getting a little bit better this week. This week was like, it didn't take me nearly as long to set up with the stickers this time. So I'm starting to figure it out and what works for me. But they've been really fun to use, and I like how clean like the journal looks with my stickers versus before mine was a little bit more chaotic, which there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you need a chaotic week, and sometimes like my mind is chaotic, and so the journal reflects that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I do like kind of the order that these stickers have like encouraged in my journal here. So we're going to start on page 40 at the top with this week I want to feel. Now my word for 2024 is embrace. So I have been changing this section to be this week I want to embrace. And this week I want to embrace boundaries. I have a busy week ahead, or at least that it feels like I have a busy week ahead. Like I've got a lot of appointments and things. As I mentioned, my boss is also going to be out of town. So I just want to make sure that in the midst of the busy, I am making time for myself and continuing to take care of myself. And I'm going to do that through boundaries. So there are some different words up on the screen to maybe spark something that resonates with you. And then we have lots of fun examples from Sonder Club. So I'll put on a little song for you to think about how you want to feel. Think about the next 7 days. What do you have coming up? How do you want to feel as you move through the week? What do you want to hold on to and claim? And then we'll move on to our next section. If you haven't settled on a feeling yet, that's okay. Sometimes mine comes to me after I get halfway through this page. So we are now going to move into our weekly to-dos and weekly major 3. So I like to combine these sections because a lot of folks have started kind of combining them in the journal. I've also seen some people who have combined all 3, right? So they've like thought about how they want to feel, they carry that into their weekly 3, and then they kind of make their to-dos how they want to make that happen. But I'm seeing more and more kind of correlation between the to-dos and the major 3. So I like to put these together so you can decide what you want to do with your time and with this section. So these are some examples where people have kind of partnered their to-dos with the weekly major 3, looking at those different sections like mind, body, heart, and then carving out 3 to-dos that kind of go with that, carving out those major 3s, and then setting an intention of how to do it. And then this actually came from a previous Sonder Social. So in the chat, Julie had shared that they were trying something different where each week they were choosing 3 of their monthly intentions to focus on and setting goals tied to those. I think that's a great idea because sometimes as we move through the month, we can lose sight of those initial intentions that we set. But I have lots of different examples to share and show. And don't worry, while you're working on your pages, we'll flip back and forth between all of these examples. If you have a busy week ahead and it's starting to feel like it's too much, You can look at that Eisenhower matrix, right? That urgent, not urgent, important, not important, and see if maybe you can kind of spread things out a little bit. See if maybe there's something that you're telling yourself you have to do or you should do that maybe you don't actually need to do, or at the very least, you don't need to do it this week, right? And sometimes we talk about, well, how do I delegate if I don't have anybody to delegate to? Sometimes you're delegating to a future version of yourself. So sometimes there is something that you want to do or need to do, but maybe it doesn't have to be done this week. Maybe it can be done by July Bailey instead of June Bailey, right? If you're like me and you struggle with executive dysfunction, the Pomodoro technique can be super helpful for getting started on a task. I am the worst about putting my laundry away. I will clean it, I will fold it, but I am really bad at putting it away. So I've started using this to help me with that a lot, setting a timer, agreeing to work on the laundry for 25 minutes. At the end of the timer, I can either keep going and set a new timer, and kind of be fueled by the progress that I've made, or there are some days where I'm like, no, I'm done with this. I cannot sit here and do the laundry one more second, and that's fine. And so I allow myself to take a break and try again the next day. You can focus on your actual to-dos and make a list, or you can switch to to-dos. And instead of writing down all the things you need to do, write down things as you complete them. Feels very different as far as mindset and maybe even how it sits in your body. You can go a totally different route and try a to be list. I want to be positive, be powerful, present, etc. Or a need, want, hope list. Of course, we love a bingo here at Silk and Sonder. So a lot of people will turn their to-do list into bingos. And as you saw on that first page, a lot of the times they will incorporate those things into different sections. And as always, anytime that it feels like a good time to just put a sticker or a quote, you do that. We are here for that as well. Here are some major 3 goals examples. You can see a lot of the times people will divide it into different categories or different areas of focus. I really love that example in the orange and blue because they've actually written out the why behind each of their goals. And I think that can be really powerful, especially as you move through the week and things start to get busy. And of course, you can do actual goals, commitments, and things to hold yourself accountable. You can also lean into doing a stop list or a to don't list. Maybe there's something you don't want to do this week, like overthink, forget to breathe, that sort of thing. And then we have some more little tips and tricks here, and then ideas if this is not going to be a week centered on productivity. Maybe you're going on vacation, maybe you're on summer break. So maybe this needs to be geared more towards rest, relaxation, filling your cup back up. Maybe it needs to be one movie you want to watch, one show you want to catch up on, one book you want to read, one activity you want to do outside. Whatever you need these areas to be for you, that's what we want you to do. This is your journal. It needs to work for whatever you need. So I'll put on some music while you all work through this, and then we'll come back together to our next section. Okay, if you are still wrapping up those sections, don't worry. You'll probably have some time in the next one, but I want to make sure that we have time to get through all of our little spaces here in the journal. So we're going to hop over to the habit and activity section. Now, for the last several weeks, have just had focus on monthly habits in this section because this year I've really struggled just maintaining habits in general. I don't know why. My brain has been focused on other things. So I'm really trying to put the focus back where I really want it to be, which is on those things that I have set for myself for the whole month. So if you're somebody that needs to just do that and just focus on that, and you needed to see somebody else do it, hello, here I am. You can totally ignore this section if it's not working for you. And that goes for any of the sections in the journal. You can always skip things if they're not working for you. Your journal should never feel like it is making life harder. It should make life easier and be giving you opportunities to check in with yourself. It should never feel like another task or another to do. So if it starts to feel that way, think about maybe skipping some things for a little bit or just taking a break. It doesn't mean that you can't come back to it later when you're ready. So, in that same sort of spirit, you also do not have to fill out every single one of these lines. Maybe you have one habit or activity or habities, as we like to call them sometimes, that you want to look at this week. And that is totally fine to just have one. Or maybe you're using this space for routine and you need a few more lines to kind of make that work for you. That's okay too. You can set a specific goal of how many times you want to do something this week as you move through the week, or you can just record it as it happens. This is another section where sometimes less is more, and maybe you want to do a list of things that you don't want to do this week, like scroll through social media or bite your nails or whatever the case may be. Earlier in the year, I did use this as a space to sort of establish a new sleep routine, and that did actually work really well for me. And then again, sometimes the best way to grow is to subtract. So if you are thinking about a list of what not to do this week, there are some examples there. And then Jennifer had found this really cute How to Thrive little like graphic from Oprah.com. So that was perfect for our little theme. So I added it in there. And when in doubt, always good to just throw a sticker on there, right? Because as soon as you open that page to kind of look at your week ahead, it'll at least make you smile, if nothing else. And if you're struggling with, well, should this be a weekly habit or is it monthly? What do I do? Sometimes it's both, right? Like we do have some things that we want to track every day, and those are usually probably more of our monthly wheel habit kind of things, versus weekly might be something you just want to do a couple times a week. But you can also use this as a place to kind of encourage you if you're struggling with a monthly habit, or stretch if you're doing really well. So example I like to give is, let's say your monthly habit was to drink 60 ounces of water every day. Let's say that hasn't been going so well. So maybe this week you want to just try to do 40 ounces a day and kind of track something smaller. Or let's say it's been going really well, and this week you want to see if you can get to 90 ounces, right? So this kind of gives you space to kind of stretch or reduce some of those monthly goals as well. So I'll move through these slides for you while you work on yours, and then we'll hop over to our next page. Okay. Hopefully you found some habits you want to lean into this week or activities or habities, or you found some really fun ways to say no thank you and leave this section alone if it's not going to help you this week. We are now going to flip over to page 41 and we're going to start with a section titled Meal Plan. Now this section gets repurposed a lot, and it's not because having a meal plan isn't beneficial, it's just because a lot of the times people use other things for their meal plans, and or this is a big space in your journal and it's a big space every week, and so it's a lot of real estate. And so sometimes it needs to be something else and that is okay. I have been tracking my work meetings here and it's really helped me to keep things organized. And in fact, when I was setting up my journal this week, right, I was feeling like, oh my gosh, I have such a busy week next week and work is going to be crazy because my boss is out and da 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 da. And then I actually wrote down my meetings and I was like, oh, I actually have like a really light week from a meeting perspective next week. So that kind of helped me realize that maybe it's not going to be as crazy as I thought it would be, right? So whatever this space needs to be for you, lean into it. It has taken me a while and I've tried a lot of different things to get to this place of finding something that works. So don't be afraid to try something new if what you've been doing isn't working. If what you have been doing is working, hey, if it's not broke, don't fix it. We always encourage trying new things, but until you get to a point where you're needing something else from your journal, it's totally fine to continue to do what works for you. So again, lots of repurposing happens here, and that's okay if that's what you need to do. If you're going to use it as a meal plan or a meal tracker, that's awesome. You do that. But if you need or want this to be something else, there's all kinds of different ideas up there on the screen and different examples. I saw in Sonder Club a couple different people have been doing haiku poems here, so that's really cool. I like these different journal prompts that people have kind of written in, like this week I learned, created, loved, remembered, accomplished. Somebody did like a mindful moments thing here, and different little questions that they can ask themselves. And don't worry, I'll hop back and forth between these because there are always such good examples for this section. There's like different words of the day. I really like stuff like that where it's just like really clear and simple. It kind of sets an intention. I've done my intentions that way a lot. And then Kimberly L, who I'm pretty sure is here today, shared in a previous social that they use this as a daily check-in for their feeling of the week. So if you wanted to feel strong this week, your check-in might be, how did I show strength today? So I think that that's also a really great idea and a good way to kind of incorporate that feeling as you move through the week and everything. So I'll throw on a song for you all to think about how this section is going to work well for you, and then we'll move on to our other sections. Thank you all. Oh my gosh, Jennifer, you and I really are on the same wavelength this week. We were talking before the social about how we both decided to reorganize the same thing earlier this week, and I just started doing the exact same thing as you with the affirmations. I stopped hitting the affirm button because it would make me sad that I forgot to do it the day before and it would break my streak. So Jennifer and I are on the same wavelength this week for sure. So speaking of wavelengths, think about how you can get more in touch with yourself this week. Mind, body, health plan, right? So creating whatever it looks like for you to really be intentional, making sure you're setting aside time to get curious with yourself as you move through the week and making sure you have what you need. I've been doing a little bingo in this section pretty much the whole year. And I think I have gotten more out of this section by doing that than I ever have. So gonna stick with it. And now with the sticker packs, they usually come with a fun little bingo. So it kind of works out perfect for me. So I have a hair appointment this week, getting my nails done. So whenever I do my bingos, I try to fill in my appointments in there for like some easy wins and momentum, and then like some other things in there that maybe I might have to push myself to do a little bit more, like reading outside, walking outside, but will absolutely be good for me. So here are some other examples of how you can use this section. So you can actually carve it out as mind, body, and health. Somebody has daily glimmers, which if you're not sure what a glimmer is, it's the opposite of a trigger. So something that like makes you smile, maybe helps you realize some growth that you've experienced, and just overall gives you that like warm, fuzzy feeling as opposed to the other. There are 7 types of rest, and while you don't need to try to achieve each and every one of them, it might be a good idea to just check in with yourself and think about where you've been spending a lot of energy and where you may need some extra focused on resting and like replenishing that cup. Stephanie had shared in another, actually, I think it might have been, was it Sonder Hub? No, I think it was last night in a social actually, that they're turning their mind body health plan into an adventure plan to plan solo adventures around the city. And I love that. I think solo time is amazing and it's so critical for us to have that time to check in with ourselves when we can get it. Here are some more examples for you to look over. Again, as always, if you don't have a use for this section or it's going to feel like one other to do, just put a sticker over here. Put something here that's going to make you smile, right? Check in and ask, how did you care for yourself? You could do a T chart of I feel and I need. You could change this to something totally different like plant care, kid care, cat care, if you're like me and have 3 little kitties. So I'll throw on a quick song for you to think about how this is going to work well for you. And then we'll wrap up our time together with our last few sections. Okay. Our last few sections here are the shopping list and I'm loving section. So the shopping list also gets repurposed a lot just because people have other ways that they track their shopping and things. For me, this works really, really well. I struggle with both anxiety and ADHD. And so for me, the shopping list is actually critical because if I don't write something down, I will forget to buy it. And if I don't write it down with the intention to come back to it later, the way that I stop myself from forgetting is to just buy it immediately, whether I actually need it or not. So one of two things happens. I either forget or I impulse buy. So using this section on a regular basis really keeps me like grounded and like, I don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, I'm going to forget because I've written it down. I know it's written down. I'm not going to forget about it. It's there. And we don't need to buy the $400 storage solution today, right? So that helps me a lot. But folks do use this for a lot of other things. This is a popular place for stickers. I like the person that puts their washi tape scraps here because it's like a fun little abstract artwork piece each week. You can put quotes here. This is a space for bingos. You can tie that into your mind body health plan if you want to and kind of do like a continuous thing here. So whatever is going to work best for you here. And if you don't have a specific need carved out for it yet, you can always just leave it blank too. Maybe it's a space for you to jot down things as the week go on, write down ideas for next week, or just doodle. And then our I am loving. So I know some people wait till the end of the week to fill this out. And if that's you, you do not have to change your routine just because you're here with us today. But we would love to hear something that you are loving right now in life and for you to share it there with the group. I'll put on a very quick song for you to think about these sections, and then we'll wrap up our time together. If you can believe it, that wraps up our time together. I know it always goes by so terribly fast every single time. Gotta talk to those time people about why they speed up the minutes when we do our Sonder socials, right? But we would love to see your planner in Sonder Club if you feel comfortable sharing. As you can see, we get lots of examples from Sonder Club, so you might inspire somebody else with your example if you're comfortable sharing. We also do have the stickers going on. There are stickers everywhere. There's the June matchy stickers, so you can actually get like a subscription that goes along with the journal now, and so they'll come each month themed. That's what I used for my setup this week, and I really like that. They also have the big sticker booklet that's like, I don't know, 2,000 stickers or something crazy, I think. And I've used that in some other setups and stuff too. I am really enjoying my new journey of like becoming a sticker girly, and I'm kind of thankful that they decided to make these products because I don't think I would have really leaned into stickers and tried them otherwise. And so far, I'm really liking it. So just something to think about. The Elevate Planner is officially out and on sale, but the early bird code does still work. I tested it yesterday just to make sure. So you can get 10% off if you use early bird. I have heard from people that it is super nice. I haven't gotten mine yet, but I've heard it's really nice and that it's a really good way to get curious with yourself and check in. As always, we're still doing our Refer a Friend program. You get $10 off, they get $10 off, and then hopefully you'll come to a social together. We would love to have you both together here. If you're able to upgrade to an annual subscription, you can save yourself some money. So something to think about, especially if you are like an early holiday gift list maker like me, you can go ahead and put that on your wish list now to just have an annual subscription. And then be sure to let us know what you liked about the social, what you didn't like, fill out the survey. HQ does look at the feedback, even if it takes them a while to try new things and make changes sometimes to socials. I promise it gets looked at, and they are brainstorming every day. And then Jennifer will share in the chat the YouTube link for all of our other socials. I think there's like over 800 of them now. It's crazy. So if you're ever, having a day where you'd like to attend a social, but maybe there isn't one scheduled, you could scroll back through and find an old one and join us in the past. I will share my link to today's playlist in the chat. You are welcome to listen to that. Search any of my Sonder Social playlists. They're all public over on Spotify. And it was our sincere pleasure to spend this time with you all today. We hope you're feeling ready and set up for the week ahead. Until next time, be good to each other, and we'll see you all in Sonder Cliff.